Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the new Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michelangelo figure from Playmates. Oh man, they are finally here! I have been so excited about the return of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I grabbed the first wave, and I'm going to spend some time taking a look at each and every one of these figures because I am just so excited. And I'm probably going to repeat myself over and over again, but I can't help it, guys. I'm excited. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at Michaelangelo. The new Nickelodeon TMNT action figures come in this blister card style packaging. I really like the card backs here. They're bright and colorful, featuring purples and bright greens. You can see a New York City scene in the background there. Looks very nice and it's very, very eye-catching. The back of the package gives you a bio from Michelangelo with an image from the new Nickelodeon cartoon series that's coming out, as well as images of all of the other figures available in this first series. Alright, so here's Michelangelo outside of his packaging. Now, the figures in this series are at the 5-inch scale, but one of the things I really like here are that the turtles are shorter than that. Playmates has really kind of gone out of the way to scale these guys appropriately, and I think that is really fantastic. So the 5-inch figures are more the human figures, while all of these turtles are a little shorter than that, between 3.5 inches to 4.5 inches tall. And I say in between because all 4 turtles in this line are completely unique sculpts from each other, and they're all different heights. You look at them lined up here, you can see that each of them are different heights, and if you study them, you'll notice that the sculpts are completely different. There are no shared parts. The gashes in their chests, the shapes of the designs on their shells, everything is different between all 4 turtles, and I love that. A great attention to detail from Playmates. So the shortest guy in the bunch is Michelangelo, and that's who we're going to take a look at first. I really like the new designs of these figures. They aren't too cartoony. You can notice that they've got the whited out eyes just like the old turtle toys and the way they appeared in the old comic books. In the new cartoon, they're actually going to have pupils. But I think this is a really cool nod to the old comic books and the old toy line. And I kind of feel that the overall look of these guys has a very comic book feel to them. I think the sculpts are really great. As I mentioned, each of them kind of have their own little thing going on. So if you look close at like his chest, you can see some gashes there. There's some great little details in his skin on the green. Everything looks really nice on this guy. The paint job is a little basic. There's not a whole lot going on, but it doesn't look bad by any means. Michelangelo's skin is a really bright green, and then he's wearing the bright orange bandana. The browns on his belt and all of his pads are just a solid brown, so there's no really differential in shading or anything like that. But I like the nice toned down colors. He's not too bright or neon or anything like that, so everything looks nice on this guy, even if he's not overly detailed. Now, I do want to compare him very quickly to the other Michelangelo figure that I got back in February. Now, you might remember I got an early sample of Michelangelo at New York Toy Fair, and this was a special edition for that event for people that attended. So there are some differences. You look at the two figures standing side by side, you can see they're the exact same figure, but the paint jobs differ. One of the things that's lacking on this new figure are the freckles on Michelangelo's face. He has freckles in the new cartoon, and I thought that was a cool addition. I'm kind of sad to see that they're not on this final figure like they were on that preview figure I got. Aside from that, his weapons are fully painted on the preview figure and they're not on the new one, which we'll look at more in a minute, but otherwise the figure seems exactly the same. It'd have been cool if we got a little more shading and everything, but I will reiterate, I still think the new figure looks really nice. Alright, before we jump into taking a look at the weapons, let's take a look at the articulation on this guy, because one of the other things I love is that Playmates really gave the turtles a good range of motion, which is something that Playmates isn't really known for. So the head is on a nice little joint there that allows it to swivel and turn all the way around. You got ball-like joints at the shoulders, allowing for up and down, forward, backward movement. You got swivels right above the elbow, as well as a single elbow joint, and a swivel at the wrist. You got hinge joints at the legs, so you can kind of do the splits and move forwards and backwards. You got a single joint in the knee, which is right below the knee pad there, and a swivel as well, so you can actually turn it kind of like boot cut articulation. There's no other articulation in the feet, but one of the good things is that the feet are flat on these figures. Playmates has always been known for having these terrible battle poses with the feet, especially in the old Ninja Turtles lines, which made them hard to stand up. This guy has no problem standing, and you can get some really great poses out of him, so kudos to Playmates for the added articulation. So let's take a look at his weapons. First up, he comes with a pair of his signature nunchucks. Now, you can see that they are just all brown. There's no paint deco whatsoever. Unfortunately, Playmates had to cut costs somewhere to make these figures affordable, so we lost out on the deco on the weapons, which kind of stinks, but I guess you can kind of look at it as a nod to the vintage line where all the weapons were solid colored just like this. The chains have a bit of a pliability to them, so you can kind of rotate them around a little bit, you can squeeze them together, but you can't really get them to dangle or anything like that. But you can still get some cool poses out of him holding both nunchucks in his hands. And you've also got spots on the back of his belt so you can holster the nunchucks, which is a very nice touch. It is also worth noting while we're talking about it that the belt is non-removable. It's part of the figure. It's a separate sculpt, but it is glued onto the figure on a side, so it can't come off. Unlike the vintage toys where you can remove the belts, the belt is stuck on the figure on this one. Now here's one of the other things I really like. As another nod to the vintage figure, these new guys come with the little trees that are full of accessories. You got all these different weapons that are stuck to the plastic tree. So you can pull those off there, and Michelangelo also gets two different kinds of throwing stars. He gets two of these longer bladed throwing stars and then two of the smaller bladed throwing stars. So those are really neat. You can put those in his hands and get him posed in some throwing positions or anything like that. And then the next weapon, I'm sure there's an official name for it, but it's basically a bladed scythe type weapon on a chain, which is molded so it's kind of curved, but you can still put that in his hands for some really cool poses. I thought this was a really nice nod to the old figures, just like I said, and kind of does give you some different display options, or if you're playing with the figures, you got all these different weapons you've got them to use, which is really great. Alright guys, it's comparison time! Here's Michelangelo standing alongside his vintage counterpart, probably the most recognizable Michelangelo figure. You can see that the scales are very similar, but you can also see the major difference in the colors and the styles between these figures. And here he is standing alongside the Toon Turtles version of Michelangelo from the vintage toy line. Here he is alongside one of my favorites, the movie star Michelangelo, also from the vintage toy line, based on his appearance in the live-action films. And here he is standing alongside the 2003 version of Michelangelo, which was another update of the Turtles. And lastly, here he is standing alongside the incredibly cool comic book-based Michelangelo from NECA Toys. It's really kind of cool just taking a look at this figure in comparison to all the different iterations of the character. They all look like a Ninja Turtle. So even though they've gone through changes and updates and everything, the cool thing about this new figure is you can still look at him and you can identify him as a Michelangelo figure. And I love that. So there you go guys, there's a look at the brand new Nickelodeon Michelangelo from Playmates Toys. I am a huge fan of these. The paint jobs are a little simple, but you know what? These figures are very, very fun. That is one thing that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys have always been known for, is their fun factor. And I have no doubt that kids are going to love these, and collectors of the old line are also going to love them just the same. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be taking a look at all four of the Turtles as well as all the other characters in this wave. And these figures are on store shelves now, so I would definitely recommend getting out there and tracking them down for yourselves. Until next time,